Alright, with the recently released movie TRON Ares, it's been received with some mixed reviews. And after seeing it for myself, honestly, I was kind of surprised because the movie was a little bit entertaining. Now, I'm not gonna dog on the movie like everyone else, so let's go over why this movie might be the pinnacle of cinema. Everywhere you look, people are talking about the generic plot and how it has nothing interesting to say about AI or literally anything, but I believe that is quite the opposite. In this movie, Jared Leto plays an AI program called Ares, who's created by Dillinger Systems. Now, in Greek mythology, Ares is the god of war, idealized by the Spartans as the perfect soldier. Similar to when we are introduced to Ares, the AI program, where he's presented as the perfect soldier to investors, because capitalism, I guess. And since we're on the topic, it's important that I mention Athena, both the goddess and the character in this movie, who's kind of boring if I'm being honest. I don't remember anything notable that she did in this movie. Anyways, in mythology, both of the gods are considered adversaries because they represent different aspects of war. Ares being the more brutal and violent aspects, and Athena embodying wisdom and strategy. Now, other than that is pretty much where the Greek analogies end, and I don't think there's really any stories that reflect the arc of the character in this movie. So instead, we'll change gears and we'll talk about another obvious metaphor that they place in this movie: the story of Frankenstein. Now let's pause for a second. Now, at this point, I'm pretty sure you can tell where I was going with this video. I was literally following suit to the glaring illusions made in this movie comparing Ares to Frankenstein's monster. But then I stopped and I talked to myself for a bit. And I thought about this sequel baiting mid-credit scene where we see Julian Dillinger take his identity disc and form a new look inside of the grid. That is the real story I want to talk about. A lot of people talk about how this movie ruins the franchise by disregarding its predecessors, but I disagree and firmly believe that it expands on the beautiful and stunning lore in the TRON universe. And that's because Julian Dillinger is Frankenstein's monster, not Ares. Throughout the movie, there's various clues that point to Ares representing Frankenstein's monster. Like, for example, his story arc resembles a character breaking free of his creator, which was actually sparked by seeing a lady read the book Frankenstein, and he actually quotes it twice.
Beware, I am fearless, and therefore powerful.
Honestly, I was literally rolling my eyes in the theater because I just felt like I knew the entire plot of the story 20 minutes in. But this is just not the case, and maybe he does align more with his mythological counterpart. Let's talk about Julian. Now, throughout the movie, he's portrayed as this one-note tech bro doing whatever it takes to lead his company into a successful direction. At least that's what most people think. I actually believe that Dillinger is the real allegory for Frankenstein's monster. For starters, it's not really clear how Julian and his mother are related to the Dillingers of the past movies. So how can there be a Frankenstein's monster without good old Dr. Frank, right? Wrong. From the very beginning, Elizabeth, which is spelt with an S by the way, I've never seen it spelt that way, but whatever. Elizabeth is berating and tearing down Julian for, a lack of a better word, efforts to progress the company. And in the original 1818 novel, is that how you say it? 1818? That doesn't feel right at all. Dr. Frank would treat the monster in a similar way, expressing this immediate horror and disgust and abandonment at the moment of its creation. In the movie, this is evoked by not only a strained relationship between a mother and her son, but also in grander terms, with these characters having no clear lineation to their ancestors. Who I'm sure all three TRON fans care about this detail, it's like whatever. Now let's further explore the character of Frankenstein's monster. Many Hollywood depictions have created this narrative that it's just a big dumb goof, but this is just not the case. In the original novel, the monster is actually highly intelligent and learns at a remarkable pace, which actually might be the reason the events of the story unfolded the way they did. But this would ultimately lead to the demise of those around him, ending the story taking himself out on his own terms. Does this sound familiar yet? I can't make exact one-to-one comparisons to the original novel, but I do believe there are a few deaths that do line up within the story of this movie. For example, the first victim of the monster is William, the younger brother of Dr. Frank. This death would, in Victor's eyes, solidify the monster as the antagonist of the story. And so with Tron Ares, this guy named Caius, played by Cameron Monaghan, he's killed off very early in the movie to show that Julian is not exactly a great guy. Which is weird. Like, it's very clear that they edited him out of the movie. Now, another notable character to fall is Athena, ultimately in a very lackluster fight. Like I excuse the last one because they edited him out, but Athena was just so boring. I believe this movie treats Athena as its own personal version of Justine. Is that her name? I believe this movie treats Athena as its own personal Justine in a bit of a meta kind of way. In the novel, Justine is framed for the murder of William and is then executed for it. Where this movie does, yes, acknowledge Julian as the monster or the villain, Athena is kind of scapegoated, hunting the others for the next hour, directly telling us, hey, this girl's like a villain too, you know? I'm not gonna lie, this comparison was kind of a stretch. It's probably just because someone was like,
how are we gonna make this Tron guy fight a normal dude?
Now earlier, I made the connection between Elizabeth, Julian's mother, and Dr. Victor Frankenstein because, you know, parents, creators, it's easy, right? But in the original novel, Victor Frankenstein is a really big part, and it doesn't make that much sense, especially when in this movie, Elizabeth has like 5 minutes of screen time. Just like her son, she displays this drive and ambition to build upon their well-established company. However, as a result of their creation, it leads to their own downfall, where Julian's poor choice of words leads to her death, indirectly falling to her creation just like Victor did. And after all this death, I find that Julian has a symbolic end just like the monster of the story, despite it being clearly sequel bait, but we will allow it. Both characters find grief and remorse over their actions following the death of their creators, Julian's mother or Dr. Victor Frankenstein. And while both aren't clearly stated to die, they both indeed end the story on their own terms, whether it be by suicide or by entering the grid of your company, which was shut down 20 minutes earlier with no one really knowing that you're there and no real way to get out, but at least you're getting a fit similar to your ancestors. Yeah, well, if you watch this whole video, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching.